So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be back here, actually. I tend to come every couple of years, so it's lovely to be here. And I know you've just heard from Lynn a little bit about the charity, and Colin asked me to give a little bit more detail around some of the programmes of work we've been doing here around fracture liaison services and our Stop at One campaign. So I'm going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour, if I can work this out, because I know that I'm standing between you and our VIP guest, Craig. You probably want to hear from him more than me. What I wanted to start by saying was about the charity, and we're 30 years old this year, so we've got quite a lot of history. Love Your Bones, 10 years of Love Your Bones as well, so that's a third of our history with this partnership with Portsmouth, so it's absolutely fabulous. But I wanted to say about our vision. Our vision is a future without fragility fractures. And that was quite a purposeful decision that was made a few years ago. I've been the chief exec for 10 years at the charity this year. Often you'll see, when you have a condition charity, that it will be the condition name that is up there in the vision. But what I wanted was a plan of attack for the fragility fractures that actually cause a lot of the pain and disability for people living with osteoporosis, and to really focus our attention and focus our resources on tackling that big issue. And the work programmes that the charity has been doing for many years have been great, but I wanted again to pull them into two very, very specific and clear aims. First of all, to prevent future fractures and to help and support people with osteoporosis now. And you can see the fuller explanation up there. And the reason for that is when I joined the charity, I spent a lot of time going out to support groups, meeting people, and the stories, although were individual to them, there was quite a strong theme running through around around fracturing on a number of occasions before receiving a diagnosis. And it felt incredibly important that if the charity could do nothing else, it could help and work in partnership with the NHS to put in place a service that can stop that multiple fracturing incident and get people to actually be diagnosed promptly, and for health professionals to be more and more aware of osteoporosis. And obviously, once people have that diagnosis, that they have access to the right treatment, the right care, and they can get that information from us. So the charity, quite simplistically at the moment, is organised into focusing on those two key aims as stated up there. Oh. So in order to be the best that we can be as a charity, we need to listen to people that have the condition and listen to the health professionals that interact with people that have the condition. And when I came a couple of years ago, I touched on life with osteoporosis, which was a study that we were undertaking to find out from people firsthand what it was like to live with osteoporosis. Now, that report was about 3,300 participants, so a massive cohort of individuals participated. And it gave us some real insights into the trials and tribulations of everyday living. But it was quite sad reading if we didn't go on and do the story of hope, which is a good life with osteoporosis. So Life with Osteoporosis set out the challenges and the real issues. And a good life with osteoporosis is what people said, this would help, this would be better for us. So therefore, our challenge as a charity is to take the rich information from a good life with osteoporosis and turn that into practical support and practical help, and also ensure that health professionals hear the voice of people living with the condition as well, so they know what people want and what people need. So this is some of the life with osteoporosis statistics. I'm sure you may be familiar with some of them if you are living with osteoporosis or caring for someone. But it talks about people who are fractured have difficulty doing domestic chores, people feeling socially isolated. That's why events like this and support groups are absolutely brilliant, because it gets people meeting other people. And people of working age having a diagnosis of osteoporosis and what we can do for them. And the list goes on. And this was really quite interesting when we asked about what areas of information support would people find most useful. So A Good Life with Osteoporosis was a study with people that already were diagnosed and already had the condition. And really interestingly, despite that, the 86% wanted more information around medication. So that really tells you something. Either health consultation isn't comprehensive enough, people aren't liking the treatment and want something a little bit different, or they're just, here it is, get on with it. So there's something there, a problem we would need to solve. But then the others are very much about taking responsibility and finding out for yourself, what's healthy eating look like? What does exercise look like? Let me know more about it so I can prevent my fractures. So really, again, demonstrating that people want information so that they can help themselves. And we need to respond to that. And where do people look for the information? Again, you can see health professionals popping right up near the top. They are trusted by individuals. They are the source of knowledge. And one of the, on the left, the top 5 sources of information, you can see the National Osteoporosis Society is right up there. And because our information is written by the health professionals we're engaged with, who are out here in your rheumatology departments, out in the NHS, our helpline specialist nurses that we directly employ and engage with. So they are all supported, the production of those resources, by health professionals as well. This here is an interesting diagram, which I wasn't sure whether you would all be particularly interested in, but it shows the patient journey, and it starts to group and cluster points of contact. The area, and I don't, actually I'm just looking to see if I've got something with a light, but I'm not sure, but the area that I'm most interested in is the last one, actually, with management, because actually it moves you through, oh, it's that one, yes, I recognise that, the bottom one. Oh, no. Been let loose on technology here. Yeah, thank you. That's fine. No, get my eyesight in. There we go. We're back in the game. There we are. Management. That's the one. So this takes us through from when somebody is actually has a fracture, has a consultation, has the investigation, to the diagnosis. But A Good Life with Osteoporosis is really helping us to get to grips with the management of osteoporosis and what it is that people want. And it's the education, the lifestyle, the medication, and such like. And it was just quite a neat little map, really, of how people move through the health system. So I thought I would just share it with you. Let me just keep moving through a few slides. Stop at One was a campaign that we started to run, not only to the general public, but also in fracture clinics, to say, please, can you pick people up that present, that are age over 50 years and have a likelihood of it being an osteoporotic fracture. So it wasn't a trauma fracture, it was a fracture that would be unlikely to have occurred under normal circumstances. And what we said is that the way to do that is through an organised programme of care, or through an organised service known as a fracture liaison service. So we worked with a wide range of health clinicians and health professionals, the NHS, the Department of Health, across the whole of the UK, and pulled together an FLS implementation group. And it's chaired by Professor David Marsh. Now, some people may have heard of Professor David Marsh, but he actually championed the establishment of the hip fracture database in England and changed the entire hip fracture care pathway for us all, so that we have prompt diagnosis, prompt surgery, prompt recovery periods for hip fractures, and even hip fracture surgery being very quick from surgery to recovery now, rehabilitation. So he was just absolutely brilliant to have as our chair. And what we did is we took a top-down and a bottom-up approach to establishing fracture liaison services, making sure we had the top people engaged at the NHS, Department of Health and clinicians, and then making sure out on the ground we have health professionals, commissioners working with us, helping to set them all up. Now, we put online a number of resources, toolkits. We've run as a charity a number of workshops, and there's been a real plan of attack, a real movement over the last 18 months to get the NHS engaged with setting up these services across the UK. And I think it's probably important that I go to this slide, which shows that we think, see if I can do this without moving slides. We think there's probably about 167 places in the UK that should have a fracture liaison service. And since in the last 18 months, you'll see that we have started to engage with virtually all of them. And actually, we've now got fully commissioned 9 new services. Now, bearing in mind that I go to places where people have taken 6 or 7 years to get a service commissioned, because the engagement with commissioners is difficult to always, whilst doing your day job, get the correct information, the business case together, the economic argument together to get it properly put in situ. So by us coming along with a team of experts, we've been able to coordinate and help and get that moving for people. What that means, which is incredibly impressive based on the hip fracture data that we know, and starting to see some early indications here from Portsmouth, that if you map over a 5-year period having a fracture liaison service in place, you will see that these are the 9 areas that we've got here, and you've got your cohort of over 50 years old that an FLS clicks in, that we will save over 1,000 hip fractures, that over a 5-year period through the Health and Social Care Bill saves the NHS over £17 million. So it's phenomenal, the work that we're doing as a charity in partnership with the NHS. And I'm absolutely delighted that the NHS, because the data comes from them, are taking it very seriously and seeing this as a very positive step, given the challenges that they have with balancing the books and making sure that they look after the ageing population, because we want people to live long and live well. In terms of what we're doing going forward, we want to extend that coverage. We want to keep working with all of the services, but we want to bring in vertebral fractures to the fracture liaison service. It's often easiest to get the wrist fracture or the other non-hip fracture, but spinal fractures are one of the more complex areas, so we're going to start working on that pathway, as well as falls. So I think I've talked really quite a bit about the support that we need to do, and I know where Lynn went ahead of me, hopefully she's been able to touch on a lot of what the charity does. I know that I picked up on her talking about fundraising, and it's incredibly important to us, that side of things, because we aren't government funded in any way, shape or form. It comes from the generosity of the people that we help to support, and no other funds. I put this slide up. It's a little bit messy, but it is about going forward and help and support for people. And actually, it's a term that's starting to be used, but here, making sure that we can deliver underpinned by a digital core offer. One of the things that came out with A Good Life with Osteoporosis is how many people are on the internet now. They use iPads, they find everything accessible, and they actually don't want us to use, snail mail and have to always pitch up. They want it all online, and therefore, as a charity, we're investing heavily in our digital capability so we can put online more resources and such like for people to access. But because we are a charity that listens to our beneficiaries, we will parallel run it still with making sure people can get access to leaflets and information in the traditional way, if I call it that way. But for as long as people need it, we plan to have that available. So let me move away from that sort of detailed work that we've been doing and just give a very sort of quick look back over 30 years. We've dug out recently some of these photos. I'm not sure if they put them in black and white, because quite frankly, the 80s didn't seem that long ago to me. But I think they've put them in black and white just to make me feel old. But you can see that even then, we were pulling in crowds of individuals together, like we are here today. And that was in Bath in the late 80s, one of our actual engagement programs with members. In the 1990s, you might actually see that our royal connections go back. That's Princess Anne up there in the distance, and she became our 20,000th member of the charity. And then there's some other familiar faces there. Anyone who's watching EastEnders is waiting for Ross to return. Ross Kemp, can't think what his EastEnders name is off the top of my head right now. And we've also got Miriam Stoppard there, who started to become associated with us. And the reason why I point out Miriam, because she pops up again in the noughties with Craig doing Boogie for Your Bones. And that was all about raising awareness of exercise and the importance of exercise at many, many stages of your life. So we talk about making sure that young people actually gain access to exercise. We talk about if you have had a diagnosis of osteoporosis, exercise is good to keep your bones strong. And Craig has actually supported us with that message for quite some time now. And of course, we've got our president there, who started to do a number of big bone walks in the noughties for us. And in 2006, she led the way with big bone walks, raising over £200,000 for the charity, which was great for us. In just bringing us up to date with our 30th anniversary, and I think I sort of touched on all of this really around the Fracture Liaison Service. That's our focus of work at the moment. But I wanted to introduce Lace Up for Bones. We launched it last year, and you'll see that as a series of foot shots there, where we're encouraging people to rethread their laces with bright orange laces and actually get out and about for fresh air. Vitamin D, a great natural source is sunshine, so go out there for vitamin D. Go out there for fresh air, for exercise. Walk if you can walk. I do say jog or run, but my preference is a good walk, actually, rather than jogging and running now, it hurts my knees. And just get out there. And last year, the person that launched, and I think I might do this, yes, the person that launched Lace Up for Bones for us on social media, so that again is the person that owns these feet, and I'm sure you can guess whose feet they are. So I'd like to now just introduce you to Craig.
Darling Claire, thank you, gorgeous. Yes, they are my feet. And I managed to get the entire company of Annie, because I was playing Miss Hannigan at the time, to lace up for Bones as well. So they all put them in their shoes, and we did our warm-ups daily in them, so it was great. Hello, everyone. I am Craig. Hope you're all well and enjoying the day, seeing it so miserable outside today. First of all, I just want to say a big and humongous thank you to the team at Portsmouth Hospital Trust and Portsmouth District Support Group for inviting me along to this fabulous Love Your Bones event. I got involved, of course, with the National Osteoporosis Society back in 2008 because I wanted to help raise awareness of how terrible the fractures osteoporosis causes can be, and also because I wanted to let everyone know that dancing, of course, can help enormously. Dancing is literally a fantastic way of keeping your bones strong and healthy. It's invigorating, a great weight-bearing exercise. We've seen Anne Widdicombe try and achieve, darling. And above all else, it's fun. Dancing is great for your bones when you're young, but it's also a really fantastic thing at any stage of your life. You're never really too old to ever start dancing, and especially social slow foxtrots are a perfect environment to do that. It strengthens your muscles and even reduces your risk of breaking bones. The National Osteoporosis Society knows all about this, of course, And they've been promoting the importance of dance as a really great form of exercise for a long time. Well, certainly ever since we did Boogie for Your Bones campaign, which was involving, you know, lots of schools getting involved and learning a dance that I had created. Poor them, darling. They're also doing as much as they can to raise awareness of osteoporosis as they celebrate their 30th anniversary. That deserves itself a round of applause, I think. One of the ways, of course, they're doing this is through their Lace Up for Bones campaign. It's a brilliant, brilliant campaign, and they're urging as many people as possible to get involved, tie up their laces, and take steps, however small, to end the pain of osteoporosis. And I really, myself, became involved in it because my mum has rheumatoid arthritis, and I wanted to support a charity, really, that worked hard for the prevention of any bone disorder. And this seemed to be, for me, the best one possible because it's something I could do to actually change people when they're building a bone bank for the future, and you can do that up until 23. And when I looked at everything, like 1 in 2 women I could not believe, and 1 in 5 men are going to get it over the age of 50, and I had my 50th birthday a year and a half ago, darling. So, and I've had a hip replacement that's due to osteoarthritis, though, as well as doing the can and the splits most of my life. But I really want to support, you know, this wonderful charity, and I really hope that you guys too. Thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, darlings. Thanks.